Welcome to the Midlife Health Channel US. We're so glad to have you join our health-loving community today. Here we'll share practical tips and secrets to help your body stay healthy, strong, and full of energy. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe to become part of our big health-focused family. And please like this video to give us more motivation to spread even more valuable content. Thank you so much. 10 deli meats to avoid before they trigger deadly infections, what seniors must know. My friend, so many of us have gotten used to that simple habit. We walk into the grocery store, grab a few slices of packaged deli meat, and call it a quick lunch. It is convenient, it looks clean, and sometimes it is even labeled as healthy. But after more than 30 years working with patients over the age of 50, I have seen far too many cases where just one slice of deli meat, seemingly harmless, ended up being the reason someone landed in the emergency room. Have you ever thought that an ordinary sandwich could change your health and your life so suddenly? The frightening part is that bacteria like Listeria or Salmonella do not give you any warning signs. They do not change the color of the meat. They do not make it smell off, and they do not alter the taste. The slice still looks fresh, still smells fine, but hidden deep inside are pathogens strong enough to push an older adult into severe dehydration, confusion, or even blood infection. I remember one patient, a woman in her 70s, who told me that she ate a single slice of deli meat on bread one morning. By the afternoon, she felt dizzy. Her family thought it was blood pressure, but the test results revealed it was foodborne infection. I want you to picture this. You open your refrigerator, you see those neat packages of meat, perfectly sealed, no sign of spoilage, and you believe they are safe. But with age, the immune system is no longer as strong as it used to be. Any germ can strike faster, harder, and more aggressively. Science has shown us that people over 65 face several times the risk compared to younger adults when exposed to these bacteria. And what makes it so dangerous is their silence. No warning, no signal until it is already too late. So the next time you think about those innocent-looking slices of deli meat, remember this: sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one that hides the best. Have you ever eaten something that looked perfect only to end up stuck in bed for an entire week? These stories are not rare. They remind us that the safety of a meal, especially in our later years, is not just about flavor or appearance. It is about knowledge, awareness, and the choices we make every single day. Deli meat may look convenient, but for older adults, it can be a silent killer. Just a single slice that seems harmless could be enough to bring on sudden confusion or even a trip to the emergency room. What makes it so frightening is that you cannot tell by looking. The color still looks fresh, the flavor is still appealing, the smell is perfectly normal, yet beneath the surface could be a breeding ground for dangerous bacteria. I have seen many patients who, after nothing more than a simple lunch with a sandwich, began to experience symptoms that seemed like ordinary fatigue or just another sign of aging. In reality, it was a serious infection, and that reminds us that sometimes the greatest danger does not come from what looks suspicious, but from what seems safe and familiar. In today's video, I want to share with you stories that truly give us pause. Every type of deli meat, every product we often take for granted has its darker side. There have been recalls involving millions of pounds of meat deli counters that sparkle on the outside but hide bacteria inside, and foods marketed as healthy that ended up linked to tragic outcomes. So let us walk through each case together, each slice of the truth, to understand why these familiar products can become such silent threats to the health of older adults. And as you listen, I want you to ask yourself, that package of deli meat sitting in my refrigerator right now, is it really as safe as I believe it to be? Case 1, prepackaged sandwiches. Have you ever been on your way home from the store or stopping at a gas station and grabbed a prepackaged sandwich just to make lunch quick and easy? On the outside, it looks perfect. The bread is soft, the lettuce still crisp and green, the slices of deli meat and cheese neatly stacked. But what you cannot see is that inside, it could be a ticking time bomb. I want you to imagine this. Between those layers of bread are deli meat, mayonnaise, fresh vegetables, and cheese. Once sealed in a plastic container, moisture starts to build up. The cold of the refrigerator does not kill bacteria. In fact, it creates the ideal environment for Listeria to quietly multiply. You open the package and everything still looks fresh, still tastes crunchy, but hidden inside may be a dangerous colony of bacteria. I once treated an older patient who told me she had picked up a convenient sandwich while waiting for her grandchild after school. Just a few days later, she developed a fever, muscle aches, and memory confusion. Her family thought it was just age catching up with her until doctors confirmed it was meningitis caused by a foodborne infection. That one quick meal ended up keeping her in the hospital for weeks. Science has shown us that severe cases of Listeria infection most often strike people over 65. With age, the immune system loses its strength and the body cannot fight back the way it once did. The danger is that Listeria does not change the taste, it does not change the color, and it gives you no warning signs. You cannot tell by looking. So the next time you hold a prepackaged sandwich in your hand, ask yourself, this is that convenience really worth risking your health? Case 2, the salami salmonella scare. Many of us have always thought of salami as a treat. Thin slices of flavorful deli meat that add a little something special to a meal. But there was a time when more than 60 different salami products had to be pulled from shelves across the country for one reason: salmonella. What still unsettles me to this day is the frightening silence of this bacteria. You slice into the salami, it smells just as good. The color is that perfect rosy red. There is nothing to suggest danger. Yet only hours after eating it, the body begins to react: severe stomach cramps, diarrhea, weakness that knocks you down. For younger adults, it might mean a few miserable days, but for those over 65, the consequences are far more serious. Many patients I have cared for ended up in the hospital with severe dehydration, and some slipped into blood infections that nearly cost them their lives. I remember one gentleman in his 70s who told me he had eaten just a few slices of salami with crackers that morning, nothing more than a light snack. By the afternoon, he was rushed to the hospital, exhausted, his pulse racing, his blood pressure dangerously low. He never imagined that a simple light meal could nearly take away his chance of ever going home again. This story reminds me, and I want to remind you, that the danger of processed meats lies in the fact that they give us no chance to prepare. Everything looks fine, smells fine, tastes fine until the body speaks up, and by then sometimes it is too late. So let me ask you, have you ever eaten something that looked perfectly safe, only to spend days afterwards fighting off the consequences? If you have, then you already know behind a single slice of deli meat, there may not just be flavor, but an invisible threat waiting to strike. Case 3, the deli counter trap. Many people believe that meat sliced fresh at the deli counter must be safer, cleaner, and better than the packaged kind. I used to believe that myself until I saw firsthand how those slicing machines really work. The blades may look shiny, but what most people never see are the tiny gaps, screws, and crevices underneath. Those hidden spots are the perfect home for Listeria. Picture this: one single contaminated piece of meat passes through that blade, and suddenly dozens of other slices, turkey, ham, salami, are all exposed. They get wrapped, labeled, and taken home to your refrigerator. They look perfectly fine, but in truth, you may have just brought home a hidden infection. The CDC has reported that the majority of Listeria cases in the United States can be traced right back to deli counters. I remember one patient, an elderly woman who bought freshly sliced meat every weekend because she believed it was better for her health. One day she developed a high fever, her whole body ached, and she became so disoriented her family thought she was having a stroke. The tests showed it was Listeria from the very deli meat she trusted. What troubles me most is that Listeria leaves no trace, no smell, no discoloration, no warning. The workers behind the counter are not trying to harm anyone, but a busy slicer that never gets properly cleaned is like an open doorway for bacteria to enter your food. Have you ever noticed whether the slicer at your local deli is actually taken apart and scrubbed or just wiped quickly before the next customer? That difference between truly cleaning and just wiping could be the line between enjoying a sandwich and spending a week in the hospital. Case 4, tuna salad. Many people believe that when surrounded by greasy, heavy foods, choosing a container of tuna salad from the supermarket fridge must be the safer option. Tuna, a little mayonnaise, some celery, maybe a boiled egg. It looks light, simple, and wholesome. But that very wholesomeness can sometimes hide a frightening truth. Imagine the scene inside a processing plant. Large tubs of tuna mixed with mayonnaise and vegetables quickly scooped into plastic containers, then rushed into cold storage. But instead of killing bacteria, the chill actually becomes the perfect shelter for Listeria. This germ doesn't fear the cold, it thrives in it multiplying quietly inside those very containers that look so fresh. When you open the lid, everything still looks perfect, still smells good, still seems appealing, but the danger is already there in every bite. I remember one patient, a woman in her late 60s, who told me she often bought tuna salad because she believed it was healthier than deli meat. One day after eating it, she developed a pounding headache, a high fever, and slowly slipped into confusion. Her family thought it was the start of Alzheimer's. The tests, however, revealed Listeria from that familiar tuna salad. What haunted me most was knowing that if treatment had been delayed just a few days, she might not have survived. The danger here is that you cannot tell by looking. The tuna still looks pink, the vegetables still look crisp, the smell is still pleasant, yet each container is like a Pandora's box, and opening it can unleash a serious health threat. Have you ever wondered why foods that look the safest are sometimes the most dangerous? As we age, our bodies lose the strength to fight off infection. A quick snack, a small container of salad that seems like the smart choice can actually become the start of a life or death battle in a hospital bed. Case 5, 10 million pounds of deli meat recalled. Sometimes numbers alone have the power to stop us in our tracks. I want you to picture this 10 million pounds of deli meat and poultry, a staggering amount enough to fill dozens of warehouses, suddenly turned into waste, not because it had expired, but because it was contaminated with Listeria. They called it a recall, but to me, it felt more like a nightmare for the entire food industry. Think about it. For weeks, maybe even months, that meat was already being distributed everywhere. From the sparkling aisles of supermarkets to restaurant kitchens to school cafeterias, and finally into the refrigerators of countless families. People ate it trusting that they were enjoying a clean, safe meal. In reality, they were rolling dice with their own health. I remember an elderly couple I once met. They told me that every morning they shared a few slices of deli meat on bread, a small daily ritual of happiness together. But one day, both of them ended up in the hospital with high fevers and severe dehydration. The tests confirmed they had been infected with Listeria from that recalled batch of meat. The wife eventually recovered after weeks of treatment. The husband sadly did not survive. What seemed like an ordinary breakfast had changed their lives forever. What troubles me most is that this bacteria doesn't just sit on the surface. It hides in condensation, in tiny cracks along production lines in places you cannot wash away or cook out. By the time you realize it, it is already everywhere. That number 10 million pounds is not just about food being destroyed. It is a reminder of how fragile our trust can be in the very things we put into our bodies. And the question I want you to ask yourself is this: if even the neatest, most carefully displayed packages of meat can become a hidden outbreak, then what can we truly rely on besides our own caution? Case 6, turkey bacon, healthy but dangerous. There is a paradox I often see in my older patients. The harder they try to choose foods that seem healthy, the more likely they are to fall into the trap of products that only look safe. Turkey bacon is a perfect example. On the packaging, it is proudly advertised as lean, lighter than pork. Many people believe it is the smart choice for the heart, for weight control, and for healthy aging. But what most people don't realize is that hundreds of thousands of pounds of this very product have been recalled for Listeria contamination. I remember one woman in her late 60s who told me she was proud of herself for switching from pork to turkey to eat healthier. Yet after just a few days of eating it regularly, she developed a fever muscle aches, and her mind grew so cloudy that her family thought she was showing sudden signs of dementia. The tests revealed the real culprit, the turkey bacon in her refrigerator. The danger with Listeria is that it survives even in cold temperatures. You put the meat in the fridge thinking it's safe, but the bacteria is still there, quietly multiplying. Sometimes you cook it again, believing the heat will kill it, but not always. Some strains of Listeria are tougher than we give them credit for. What troubles me most is the sense of betrayal. Consumers place their trust in labels that say healthy or lean, but those very slices of turkey can end up sending someone to the hospital. And for older adults, a fever or a few days of weakness is not just an inconvenience. It can open the door to serious complications, from meningitis to blood infections. Have you ever chosen a food because you believed it was better, only to find out later that your trust was misplaced? The story of turkey bacon is a powerful reminder that sometimes the products marketed as the healthiest choices may carry risks greater than any greasy slice of pork ever could. Case 7. Break from a premium brand. We often believe that paying more means being safer. Deli meats from premium brands wrapped in elegant packaging always seem to give us peace of mind. But one outbreak shattered that trust. More than 60 products were recalled, 19 states reported cases, Nearly 60 people were hospitalized and 10 lives were lost. Picture this, those rosy slices of meat displayed neatly in the supermarket were actually processed in a facility where the ceiling was covered in mold and droplets of water fell straight down onto the production line. I remember reading the inspection report describing this scene, and it felt like something out of a horror movie. Yet, from that same facility, deli meats were sliced, packaged, and shipped all across the United States. One of my patients, a man in his 70s, truly believed that spending a few extra dollars on premium meat would protect him from risk. But when he was hospitalized with meningitis caused by Listeria, his family learned the hard way that brand names cannot substitute for safety. His wife still recalls the ordeal with tears in her eyes because a simple, familiar lunch turned into one of the most painful memories of their lives. What weighs heavily on me is this Listeria does not care whether the meat is cheap or expensive. All it needs is a single gap in sanitation to take hold and spread quietly. And a brand can build the perfect image through advertising, but bacteria are not impressed by marketing. So let me ask you, have you ever wondered whether safety really lies in the price tag or in the cautious choices we make for ourselves? This story reminds us that at any age, especially once we pass 60, the most important thing is not the name on the package, but our own health and peace of mind. Case 8, pate and spreadable meats. There is one food that feels especially familiar to many older adults, even tied to memories of childhood pate and spreadable deli meats for bread. On the surface, it looks soft, creamy, and rich, easy to eat, especially for those with weak teeth or trouble chewing. But what most people don't realize is that this very soft, moist texture creates the perfect environment for Listeria to grow. I once cared for a woman in her 70s who ate bread with pate every morning, believing it was both convenient and nourishing. One morning after her usual breakfast, she developed a headache, dizziness, and then gradually became confused. Her family thought she was having a stroke, but the tests revealed the true cause, an infection from the very pate she had just bought. The heartbreaking part was that the package was brand new, still well within its expiration date, and showed no sign of spoilage. Picture the processing plants where pate is made. Batches of animal liver blended with spices and fat, ground to a smooth paste, then sealed into containers. Every tiny crevice of a grinder, every surface not thoroughly cleaned can become a hiding place for bacteria. A small lapse in sanitation or storage is all it takes to turn that smooth spread into a dangerous risk. The danger lies in the fact that Listeria in pate does not change the flavor or the smell. You still taste the richness, still enjoy the aroma, but every spoonful could be another chance for bacteria to enter the body. And for those over 60 with weaker immune defenses, the outcome can be blood infection or meningitis, complications that sometimes offer no way back. Have you ever trusted a food so completely only to discover later that it was the very thing putting you at risk? Pate and spreadable meats are a stark reminder that sometimes the foods that feel most familiar can hide greater danger than the ones that seem unfamiliar. Case 9. Turkey bacon, healthy but dangerous. We often believe that anything labeled low fat or good for your health must be the safest choice. Turkey bacon is perhaps the clearest example of that belief. Many of my patients have told me they chose it instead of pork, thinking it would protect their hearts. help them manage their weight, and even help them live longer. But the truth is not always that simple. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of turkey bacon have been recalled because of Listeria contamination. What worries me most is the nature of this bacteria. It survives stubbornly in cold environments, even in the back of your refrigerator. And even when you cook it, again, sometimes it still isn't destroyed completely. That means from the fridge to the frying pan, the danger may still be there. I remember one gentleman in his late 60s, proud of himself for giving up fatty pork belly and switching to turkey bacon. I've chosen the healthier path, he said. Yet after just one breakfast, he developed a high fever, his body grew weak, and his mind became so clouded that his family thought he was having a stroke. Blood tests revealed the real cause, Listeria, from the very turkey bacon he trusted. The greatest danger is how quickly these symptoms can strike in older adults. A slight fever or a passing moment of confusion can be the early warning sign of something far more serious, like meningitis or a bloodstream infection. And once hospitalized, recovery is often long, and sometimes there is no chance of returning home. Have you ever chosen a food because you believed it was the healthier option, only to realize later that your trust had been misplaced? The story of turkey bacon is a stark reminder that not everything advertised as healthy is truly safe, especially for bodies that no longer fight off infection the way they once did. Case 10, outbreak from a premium brand. There is something I often hear from my patients. Doctor, I always choose the most expensive, the premium brand, so of course it must be safe. That belief is understandable. We all want to protect ourselves and our families with what seems to be the very best. But reality has shown us that sometimes that very trust can make us less cautious. There was once a devastating outbreak linked to more than 60 different products spread across nearly 20 states. Dozens of people were hospitalized, and sadly, some did not survive. And the source wasn't a small corner store. It came from the processing plant of a brand widely considered premium. Can you imagine? In that plant, the ceiling was covered in mold and droplets of water fell straight down onto the production line. The same meat that was advertised as fresh and safe was being processed in those conditions. Once Listeria found its way in, it spread through every crack and crevice, from the floors to the drains to the hidden seams of the machinery. No elegant packaging could disguise that reality. I remember one patient, a cautious man in his 70s, who always chose well-known, expensive brands, and yet he became one of the many hospitalized during that outbreak. His family was heartbroken because they had trusted that paying more meant being safer. But bacteria don't care if meat is cheap or expensive. All it takes is a single weakness in sanitation for it to grow and spread. What troubles me most is that among those who died, the majority were older adults. With weaker immune systems, their bodies simply couldn't fight back once Listeria took hold. So I want to ask you, does safety really come from the price tag or from the wisdom of careful choices? A brand name may give us a sense of reassurance, but true health is not something we can buy. It comes from awareness, caution, and the decisions we make every day. Looking back at all of these stories, we see a sobering truth. The danger is not only in cheap slices of deli meat. It can also hide in premium products, in neatly packaged containers, or in meats sliced right in front of us at the shiny deli counter. For older adults, just one slice of deli meat can be the reason we move from the dining table to a hospital bed. No matter how clean or safe it appears, deli meat is still a source of Listeria and Salmonella, silent bacteria that give no warning, yet can cause devastating harm to a body already weakened with age. Adults over 65, pregnant women, and anyone with a weakened immune system are especially vulnerable. I often remind my patients that true safety is not found in a label or in a brand name, but in the choices we make to protect ourselves. A meal cooked at home, prepared with care, and stored properly can sometimes be the most precious gift we give to our health. And here's what matters most. The risk is not somewhere far away. It could be sitting right now in your own refrigerator inside a package of meat that looks perfectly harmless. Don't wait until a recall makes the evening news to start being cautious. Let wisdom and vigilance guide you first so you can hold on to more days of peace and health with your loved ones instead of trading them for long, difficult weeks in a hospital bed. You see, whether it carries a common label or a premium one, whether it is prepackaged or sliced, right at the deli counter, deli meat can still hide serious risks. For older adults, just a single slice could be the reason for a hospital stay. My advice has always been this: limit deli meats as much as possible and choose home-cooked foods instead, where you can fully control safety from start to finish. Because real health does not come from something that looks polished on the outside. It comes from wisdom in the choices we make every day. And at this stage of life, you deserve to live in peace and strength, enjoying time with your family without worrying about dangers that can be avoided. If you found today's conversation helpful, I invite you to take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Not only does it support my work, it ensures you won't miss the next videos where we will continue to explore simple but practical medical insights designed especially for people over 50. I truly believe that each of these conversations is a small gift for ourselves and for our community. Thank you for being here with me today, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Until then, I wish you and your loved ones peace, health, and well-being. This video is for educational purposes only. Please consult your physician before applying any of the information shared.